Hello, and welcome to the HarperCollins Children's Book Winter 2025 Librarian Preview. I'm Kelly Ferreira, Books for Youth Associate Editor at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by copying the URLs on the screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable them on your screen, please look for and click the Show Captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of them at any time by selecting caption settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. We have a wonderful program for you today, so without further ado, I'll pass things off to Patty Rosati at the Harper Stacks team. Take it away, Patty.
Hi, thank you. And welcome everybody to our Winter 25 title preview. I am Patty Rosati and I work here in the library marketing team at Harper. And my colleagues and I can't wait to tell you about some terrific books coming your way January through April of 2025 and to introduce you to three really extraordinary authors. I have just a few tips before we dig in. The first is that we sent a spreadsheet of the titles that we're going to talk about today before the webinar, so feel free to take notes on that. You can also request to download all the titles that we talk about today from NetGalley and Edelweiss. The full picture book PDFs are only on Edelweiss, and you can immediately access those by clicking the links on each entry. And then speaking of Edelweiss, all of the presented titles today, plus many more that we just don't have the time to get to today, are in a seasonal catalog, also linked at the end of this presentation. Okay, so enough housekeeping, let's get to it. And let me introduce you to our first speaker. And that is Linda Sue Park. Linda Sue Park, who wears many, many hats, and she wears them all so well. She is the author of many books for young readers that you and your patrons know well and love, including the Newbery Medal winner, A Single Shard, and the Classroom and Library staple, a New York Times bestseller going on something like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, A Long Walk to Water. Linda Sue is the founder and curator of the Alida imprint here at HarperCollins. She serves on the advisory boards of We Need Diverse Books and the Rabbit Hole Museum Project, and created Kibuka website to highlight children's books created by the Korean diaspora. We recently published Gracie Under the Waves. That's Linda Sue's contemporary middle grade novel about a girl who loves snorkeling. And we're very jazzed about her upcoming picture book called Smiling Eyes that Linda Sue will tell us about right now. So Linda Sue, welcome, and I hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Patty. I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm just going to dive right in and begin by reading Smiling Eyes, which is illustrated by Lenny Wen. Smiling Eyes. Smiling eyes, bright eyes, twinkling eyes, wink. Shining eyes, wide eyes, surprised eyes, blink. Brown eyes, green eyes, hazel or blue, you can see me and I can see you. Crowds far and wide, clouds far above, nearby always faces of love. Purple frames, green frames, round or square, choosing new glasses. Look at this pair. Eyes read, fingers read, print or braille, mind's eye teeming with pictures and tales. Worried eyes, sad eyes, warm salt tears, tissues and kisses and wishes for cheer. Open eyes, close eyes, squint in the sun. Sleepy eyes, dreamy eyes, day is all done. Hey, thank you. I'm going to spend a few minutes now talking a little bit about this book and the inspiration for it. Many of you may know that through my work for We Need Diverse Books and many other channels, I'm active in what is called the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion movement for children's publishing. And for a very long time, I had feelings, but I didn't have the language I needed or the knowledge I needed to make those feelings into something concrete and active. And so I learned from so many colleagues over many years who have really, really helped me. And of course, the We Need Diverse Books movement that started in 2014, 2015 was probably the biggest boost I got. The conversations just enriched my life and enlightened me incredibly. And around that time, there started to be sort of I won't call it a wave because it wasn't that many, but there were several books that began to come out about Black hair, which, you know, for decades and generations had been seen as a negative. And these wonderful Black authors and illustrators were taking back that narrative and making wonderful books about the beauty of Black hair. And that was so inspiring to me. So that was one thread that led to Smiling Eyes, because, you know, what do Asian kids here in the US all their lives get teased about? Is their eyes. So I was teased about my eyes, I was bullied about my eyes, and I had very strong feelings about it, but I didn't have a way to express what I was feeling. All right, so that was one thread. A second thread was I have a picture book published many years ago called Bibimbap. And in it, a Korean American child and mother make a favorite Korean dish together. And it's what a friend of mine calls a happy, nicey, rhymey book. And it is for very young readers. I mean, it's a book you read to a baby who's 6 months old, you know. And that's such a challenge, right? How do you write a book that serves the very, very young? And I somehow managed to succeed with Bibimbap in that I've heard from many parents over the years about how it is their baby's favorite book, and their baby asks for it to be read over and over, you know, baby into toddlerhood. I have not written a book since then, easily 15 or 18 years ago that was published for that audience. And I really wanted to, because there were so many stories that came out of Bibimbap. Recently, I got a letter for a mom who you know, a Caucasian, a white woman who said that Bibimbap was her little boy's favorite book. And there's a recipe at the back of the book. So it became his birthday dinner, which he ate wanted to eat every year. And he was going away to college. You know, it was fall, so college was starting, and he asked for Bibimbap as his going away dinner. So to have a book that kind of endures through a child's life like that, I really, really wanted to do another one. So you may have heard in the reading how young the book is, and that was definitely deliberate. All right, I'm going to share my screen now because there's one more thing I would like to share with you. And it was about the editing process for this book. So here is a spread that was the original illustration for this particular part of the book. Eyes read, fingers read, print or braille, mind's eyes teeming with pictures and tales. it was important to me that I include a blind child in this book about eyes. Right. So this was the illustration that Lenny did. And this was on me. It was very late in the process. And I thought, oh, I didn't have this vetted by someone who's blind. So that process was very interesting because the blind writers and activists to whom I wrote all had assistants, and they had to describe the drawing to the illustration to the blind person, who of course could not see it themselves. But all of them came back with, "Where is her cane?" Okay, and that was such a shock to me. They said she would have a cane. It would probably a fold up one. It would probably be on the table beside her. And two of the three experts said, if she's blind enough to be reading Braille, she would probably be wearing dark glasses. So fortunately, Lenny Wen works on both by hand or manually and digitally. And she was able to alter this illustration. And this is the final one that appears in the book, the girl with dark glasses reading Braille. So she's much more clearly blind, I think, than she was in the original. And you can see her cane here. They suggested that it would be folded up on the table, but it looked like an umbrella when we tried that. So they said leaning against the table would be fine. And that's how the illustration ended up. So these sorts of expert readers, I prefer to call them expert readers rather than sensitivity readers, because we're all very sensitive, right? These expert readers who have specific knowledge, they're so important. And I was very fortunate that the Harper team let me do this at the last minute. So here's the wonderful Lenny Wen, who illustrated this book and has illustrated many others, including her own works. So I hope you will look out for her books as well. Okay, I think that's what I'd like to say about Smiling Eyes. I hope your young people enjoy it, and thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you. That was a great illustration of the illustration process and how you fold in expertise. Really interesting, and thank you for that. And thank you for reading it to us. I love being read to. So thank you for that. All right, I'm going to tell you about some more picture books. Grace, if you wouldn't mind notes. Okay, so Cranky, this is book 2. You remember last year we published the first Cranky book. And here the Grouchy Crane returns with a new character in tow named Lefty. And with Lefty's constant stream of chatter and jokes, he's equal parts annoying and earnest. And to Cranky's horror, the newcomer quickly endears himself to the other crew members. They really like him, and that seriously ramps up Cranky's own insecurity. I think something that will be really relatable to kids and certainly to adult readers too. Fuuktron and Pete Oswald. We know Pete. He was one of our previous speakers a couple years ago, I believe. He illustrates those mega popular food group books, The Bad Seed, The Good Egg, The Big Cheese. And here they both demonstrate strategies for coping with feelings like sitting quietly alone and expressing oneself. So we've got big trucks, big feelings, and even bigger friendships. And I think it's a truly winning combination. We will publish in February. Next slide, please. Oh, there we are. Thank you. You're ahead of me. So this is Little Blue Truck and Racer Red, another popular and best-selling picture book featuring things that go, always a popular section. And here we have another truck coming back with another new friend. In this case, it's a zippy red race car with a need for speed, featuring the delightful rhymes and animal sounds that Little Blue Truck is known for, and gently touching on topics such as competition, being a good sport, and the fun of trying something new. This is a solid choice for story time and social emotional learning units. And just to note that this is a full-length jacketed hardcover picture book that we will publish in March. And then next up, we have To Walk the Sky. Author Patricia Morris Buckley, who's Mohawk, tells the story of the brave skywalkers, native men who worked as high steel workers, building bridges and skyscrapers, no matter the danger. Here, warmly depicted by Caldecott Honor and Coretta Scott King award-winning artist E.B. Lewis, who is Lenny Lenape. The story describes the work the Skywalkers did on some of the most famous skyscrapers and bridges in the country, including the George Washington Bridge, the Empire State Building, and the Golden Gate Bridge. It also describes the homes on reservations the men returned to when a project was finished. Just yesterday, Kirkus reviewed it and gave the book a star and included these points that I just wanted to mention. One was they called out Lewis's watercolors that reverently depict the Skywalker's triumphs and tragedies. His dramatic cinematic angles and perspective will have readers gasping in wonder, true comment, and Buckley's elegant text will leave young people keenly aware of the historical and present-day significance of these groundbreaking workers. Also a very good point. Next title, please. So we started a series of picture books, and they're called the Everlasting Tales series. And it's a collection of multicultural folk tales traditionally passed down through oral tradition that are now refreshed for a modern audience. Each book includes a condensed and translated tale for bilingual readers, and each is incredibly illustrated. The first book in the collection was Change Are the Moon, which told the Chinese legend of Chang, the moon goddess. In the second installment of the series, acclaimed author illustrator Anusha Syed retells the Pakistani folktale of the Salt Princess, which is about a banished daughter finding her way back to her family. So I think these are gorgeous, and I think that they're important and smart additions to your mythology and folktale collections. Next slide, thanks. This is, oh, there's an illustration, an interior of the Salt Princess. Thanks. Next, there we go. So we have a couple of books from some award winners. First one up is Yadila, Good Grief. This is a heartwarming native Navajo story from our Heartdrum imprint. The story shows a family preparing their grandmother for a big move, which is a common yet emotional experience for many kids. The two grandchildren in the story help the grandmother adjust to this big change in a thoughtful, personal way that celebrates shared memories. And I think this experience is culturally specific, but will also be appreciated by grandparents and grandchildren of all backgrounds. This is Laurel's second picture book with Heartdrum. Her first, Rock Your Mocks, was an American Indian Youth Literature Award honor book. And Jonathan Nelson brings his terrific style to this book. His first book with us was A Letter for Bob by Kim Rogers, which won the American Indian Youth Literature Award last year. Next up is Bianca and the Butterfly. This is from two-time Geisel honor-winning author, illustrator Sergio Rouzier. And it's a timeless picture book about a young polar bear who befriends a butterfly and encounters new experiences from their first days of school to visiting new places, moving away, and beyond. And with its exploration of timeless themes of growing up and widening your world, plus Sergio's masterful use of color in his signature pen, ink, and watercolor illustrations, this really feels to me like a classic in the making. And then also on this slide is another word for neighbor. This is from the Apala Honor Award winning author of Finding Papa, Angela Pham Kranz, and artist Tai Fung, comes a heartwarming story about a grumpy man named Han, whose life is changed when Kate and Ollie move in next door. We published this in April. Now here we have a number of funny picture books. I have 3 to tell you about today. The first one is Big Bike, Little Bike. And this is a new author, Kelly Gillis, an up-and-coming artist, Jacob Suva. They've created a really clever and I think irresistible picture book. It starts with a bike and a tiny bird. To the bird, the bike is too big. She flies away and a huge rhino finds the bike. And now it's too small. As the book goes on, a hilarious cast of animals experience the same bike differently. And once it's in a human's hands, the bike transforms into something even more special. Big Bike, Little Bike teaches a subtle lesson about reusing, regifting, and re-examining items while plainly entertaining the youngest reader at every page with a hilarious story about opposites. That is a February pub. And then the creators of Horse Meets Dog are back with another laugh out loud collaboration that I think is best described as a mashup of the literal-minded Amelia Bedelia and the absurd and chaotic Cat in the Hat. Sadie Mouse has had it, Every time there are chores to be done, her brother finds a way to get out of it. Mom asks them to rake the leaves. Reggie Mouse swears he heard her say, take some Z's. So when Mom leaves a to-do list and heads off for the day, Sadie declares that she is a good mouse no more and sets out to prove that she is just as good at malicious compliance as her lazy older brother. The escalating chaos and unexpected ending is very funny, very satisfying. This is one to definitely take a peek at. We will publish in April. And then last but not least on this slide is the bear out there. There's something scary out in the forest, but you're in good hands in this story by Jess Hannigan. Just make sure you keep a cool head and watch out for any intruders. The signs are clear. There's a bear out there. You're lucky to be safe in this cabin in the woods with a host who's level-headed, trustworthy, and smart about bear safety. There's certainly no need to worry about any dark shadows or sneaky schemes in this book, right? This is Jess Hannigan's second book following her debut, The Spider in the Well, which people really loved all over the nation. We're delighted to be her publishing partner and to have this as her follow-up. Next up, we have some more great picture books. First is The Greatest River from celebrated author Namita Mulani Mira and acclaimed Vietnamese artist Koa Lei. Comes a meditative and uplifting story about Ganga, a holy river that flows through India and Bangladesh and is beloved by the millions of people who bathe in her. This story follows young Ananda, who experiences the river's healing power herself for the first time. And in the middle, we have Faith Takes the Train. This is from two dynamic debut creators, and it's a stunning look at a journey that one girl takes on a New York City train where she learns a lesson about having faith and being kind. I think this is a great book to hand to fans of Last Stop on Market Street and Thank You, Omu. And then last but not least on this slide is The Peddler of Puddles. This is from the best-selling creators of Stick and Stone, and it's a story about a peddler who travels the countryside making perfect puddles for all of his forest friends. Puddles that delight ducks, refresh frogs, and satisfying even the thirstiest hummingbird. But being constantly on the go can be lonely, and it's not until his friends step in that the peddler discovers the joys of a home sweet home of his own. It's a lovely book. That's Peddler of Puddles. And then I think this is my last couple of slides, and this is exciting. It's Green Willow Books' 50th anniversary next year. Since its inception, Green Willow Books has been publishing books for kids of every age. At the heart of each Green Willow book, there is honesty, emotion, and depth, conveyed by an author or an artist who has something to say, something that is worth saying to children, and who says it in a way that is worth reading. Among the many, many authors published by Green Willow Books are superstar award winners like Kevin Henkes, Donald Cruz, Erin Estrada Kelly, Paulo Zielinski, Naomi Shihab Nye, Brian Pinkney, Ray Carson, the aforementioned Amelia Bedelia, and many, many more. But never an imprint to rest on its laurels. Green Willow has terrific books coming in this 50th anniversary year, including Sunbird, The Amazing Journey of the Arctic Tern. This is the best narrative nonfiction by the creator of the acclaimed Sea Bear and Yoshi in the Ocean. Here she celebrates the awe-inspiring 18,000 say it again, mile migration of one of Earth's most amazing animals. That's the Arctic tern. This book also has map and terrific back matter. And then in the middle, that cute little cloud, that's the little cloud. A beautiful day is dawning, but everyone except Little Cloud is too busy to notice. The Little Cloud is a lush and emotional picture book about curiosity, exploration, and being present. And it's by the creator of A Spark in the Dark and When the Fog Rolls In. And then there is Punch by Michael Hall. He is the acclaimed creator of a number of books. You may know him best for Red, a Crayon Story. And he's back here with an inspirational story about friendship and sharing. When Badger bullies his friends, Frog, Moose, Elephant, and Bear, they teach him an unforgettable lesson about empathy, kindness, and forgiveness in this funny and thematically rich social and emotional read aloud. And then there's Good Luck Ice Cream Truck. Neighborhood friends greet 8 different trucks until the one that they really are waiting for, the ice cream truck, finally arrives. It's a sweet and colorful vehicle book. It also celebrates community and friendship. It's a terrific read aloud as well. So Those are the picture books. Now, again, if you go to the Edelweiss collection, there are more picture books that we're publishing between January and April of next year. But we're going to now turn our attention to middle grade. And I have the honor of introducing you to our middle grade speaker, who happens to be a Green Willow author. So she too will be celebrating the 50th anniversary with us next year. Rosanne Parry is the author of the best-selling novels A Wolf Called Wander, A Whale of the Wild, and A Horse Named Sky, as well as The Wolf Effect, which is a picture book illustrated by Jennifer Terms. These voices of the wilderness stories center the voices of wild animals and focus on their struggle to survive in a dangerous and changing world. Her newest book is a standalone companion to the mega best-selling A Wolf Called Wander, and it's called A Wolf Called Fire. Based on rigorous research and inspired by the real animals of the Western United States, Rosanne's books are treasured by teachers and librarians and adored by animal-loving readers of all ages. Rosanne lives with her family in Portland, Oregon. She often writes in a treehouse in her backyard. She is coming to us from said backyard right now, and I am delighted she's here, so please help me welcome her. And I hand it over to you, Rosanne.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. I'm gonna start sharing my screen right away. So, there we go. Oh, there we go. That's the one I want. Make it big. Are we good? Okay, awesome. Well, first of all, I had to begin with a thank you to all of you librarians out there who are standing up for the First Amendment every single day. This is not the easiest moment to be a librarian, and I am hugely grateful for your willingness to stand up for the First Amendment and children's right to read. I'm really appreciative of your support for the Voice of the Wilderness books. I was really excited to extend them into nonfiction picture books with the Wolf Effect, and I've been really happy with the support that I've gotten there. I love nonfiction and I love the environmental resilience story, and so that's been a really nice way to extend that franchise. I had a great time researching A Wolf Called Fire. It is a companion to A Wolf Called Wander. You don't have to read one first or the other. It is the same wolf family. It focuses on Worm, who's Wander's brother, but it's that story from his point of view. They grow up as pups together, and when the enemy pack comes, Wander runs away, but Worm is left with 4 pups on his own to take care of and feed. And he's the smallest wolf in the pack. He is not the best hunter, and he's like, they can't eat squirrels forever. What am I going to do? So it was really fun to research. And one of the things that got me started on this story is learning a little bit more about wolf pack dynamics. Rick McIntyre, who is pictured with me here, this is us watching wolves together in Yellowstone. And he is the Jane Goodall of wolves. Is coming up on 10,000 days of watching wolves in Yellowstone. That's about 30 years. So nobody knows those packs better than he does. And one of the things that I really love about wolf packs is because their lives are relatively short, the pack dynamic is quite fluid, right? The leadership of a pack changes pretty often, because in the wild, a wolf who lives through their first year will only live to be 5 or 6 years old on average. So that changeover happens really often. And for a long time, wolf watchers were mostly men, those wolf biologists, mostly men. And so they just assumed that the largest, the handsomest, the strongest, fastest wolf is the one who would grow up to lead them in the end. But what happened over time is that women started becoming wolf biologists and started watching the wolves. And what they did was use the same science, the same observational rubric, but they watched a different wolf. They watched the omega wolves and they watched the female wolves. And what they found was that packs are actually run by female. The alpha female is the one who chooses the den site, chooses the direction of travel, chooses the hunt every time. And so that was cool. And Rick, like every other researcher of his age, made that assumption, but presented with the data, he's now a huge champion of watching those female wolves and celebrating their leadership of packs, which is very exciting. And the other thing that I just love is that they found a better predictor of the wolf who will lead the pack someday is not the biggest one or the fastest one. It's the wolf who chooses the game that the rest of the pups want to play, right? The one who chooses the best game is the one most likely to lead them in the end, which I think is really great. And Rick McIntyre has a book for adults called The Rise of Wolf 8. There's also a young adult version of it. And so I based Fire on this Yellowstone wolf, Wolf 8, who was an Omega wolf who went on to become the patriarch of the most powerful pack in the park because he was a particularly good mentor of young pups. So when I came to a wolf called Fire, right, I wanted to make it this companion to Wander. And it's all about how this one pup who is suddenly on his own, never thought he would be, how he comes how he comes into his own as a leader, I would say, right? He isn't the kind of leader his father was. He isn't a kind of leader that Wander would be. He is his own kind of leader, and his leadership is really based on compassion and courage. And I think thematically, I really love those themes for the particular moment that we're in as a nation. So I think it's going to really speak to young readers. The refrain that comes back and back again in his life is that big is not the only good thing a wolf can be, which I think is a really great message for young people, that there's more than one kind of leadership and that they can find their own way to be a leader. I am delighted that Monica Arminio has come back to illustrate this book. She's the same illustrator for A Wolf Called Wander. And she's fabulous. The art is so good, and she's delightful to work with. And so I've really been grateful for her expertise and her beautiful, beautiful art. Like the others, I think there's about 130 pieces of art in this book, which that's a lot to invest in a middle grade novel. And so I'm just loving the illustrations. And then I'll just close by saying, because kids always ask, what's the next thing? I have spent my summer researching ravens and rivers. So the next Voice of the Wilderness novel after A Wolf Called Fire will be about ravens. I've just started writing it and it's super fun. There's all kinds of ravens are fascinating, uncanny creatures. So that's been exciting. And the next nonfiction picture book in the Voice of the Wilderness series will be about river restoration, which I'm also super excited about. It's about what happens when you take a dam off of a river. In short, the river rehabilitates itself for free. It replants the forest, it reworks the estuary, it creates nearshore land, it rehabilitates coastal erosion, and the river does not charge us any money for any of that work that they do. So I love that. It's very exciting and very timely. Many dams have come down in the American West, including this summer, they have just taken all 4 dams off of the Klamath. So I think it will be a timely topic in many communities, and it really speaks to that theme of environmental resilience that I care about. We have work to do, friends, to mend our world. But unless we believe that the resilience is there, unless we believe that nature is going to meet us halfway, it's hard to dig in and do that work. And so I really want children and families to believe that that environmental resilience is possible. So that is what is coming for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing that all with us, Roseanne. I know readers can't wait to get back to these lovable and fascinating wolves, and I can't wait to get onto the ravens. I think they're such fascinating creatures. So I'm Christina Carpino. I'm assistant manager on the school and library team, and I'm going to be presenting middle grade today. We can go on to the next slide. So another great series that we're looking forward to getting back to is the Bat series. It's been several years since readers last met Bat, a young boy on the autism spectrum with a strong love for animals. And now Bat is starting 4th grade. This is a great time to introduce new readers to the beloved series. Award-winning author Alana K. Arnold brings authentic representation to this early middle grade series, and it's a great read aloud and perfect for book discussion groups. Next slide. We've heard a lot from teachers and librarians about the struggle to find books that hit that sweet spot for 7th and 8th grade readers. So here are a few of our upcoming titles for middle schoolers. Old School by Gordon Corman he's a master at reaching these reluctant readers as well as the upper middle grade audience. And this title is definitely sure to bring some laughs. Dex is the definition of an old soul, having been raised at a retirement community by his grandmother and her friends who homeschooled him. But now it's time for him to face public school and the scrutiny that comes with it. 2-time Newbery honoree Gary D. Schmidt teamed up with 2-time Penn Award winner Ron Korteg, and they are bringing us a bit of warmth this winter with A Day at the Beach, where readers will find a series of interconnected stories that capture the joys and excitement of spending the day at the ocean with family and friends. And in Queen Bees of Tybee County, Derek has become the star of his middle school basketball team after helping win the state championship, but he hides the nail polish he wears under his sneakers and the feelings he's developing for his teammate. When he spends the summer with his grandmother surrounded by the Southern pageant scene, he's faced with the decision of what sides of himself he wants to share with the world. Next slide, please. Hopefully you remember Catherine Marsh's Medusa from this most recent year, and she's back with the second book in the Myth of Monsters series, which seeks to rethink Greek mythology from new viewpoints. With the recent resurgence in popularity of Percy Jackson, this is another great series to give fans clamoring for more mythology. And up next, we have some graphic novels. We have a really strong series of graphic novels for middle grade, starting off with Almost Sunset. This is a debut graphic novel following a young Muslim boy balancing school, soccer, friends, and fasting for Ramadan. The holy month helps him to feel more connected with his family and his religious community as they share these traditions, but his classmates, teammates, and teachers don't seem to understand, and he struggles to keep up on the field. Next slide. We're really excited to be bringing Hope Larson to our list with this new series about Verity, aka Very, who is good at everything except math. When her poor grades threaten her class presidency, Very finds herself in remedial math class trying to find ways to overcome her dyscalculia so she can keep her campaign promises. Next slide. We are excited to bring these graphic novel adaptations of classroom and library favorites, which are sure to be a hit, starting off with The Lemonade War. This is widely used for all school reads, and the graphic novel format will make it even more accessible and introduce this fabulous series to a new group of readers. The second title in the first Warriors arc is getting the graphic novel treatment. You can also see that smaller green jacket there. That was the first one, which flew off the shelves and hopefully did at your libraries as well. And then it's not coming until a little bit later in May, but we wanted to give you a sneak peek of One Crazy Summer, the graphic novel adaptation, which has been adapted by the author Rita Williams Garcia to bring the same memorable characters to life in this new format. Next slide. And for fans of Chenani's School of Good and Evil, they will be excited to return to the world with this standalone graphic novel, perfect for upper middle grade readers. Even those unfamiliar with the other titles will quickly fall in love with the trio of vigilante witch detectives who are called upon to solve a murder that is threatening to tear apart the Red Isle. And cover is going to be revealed, I believe, later this week, so keep an eye on Soman's social media for a first look at that. I Witnessed is a graphic novel perfect for fans of the I Survived series. It's 1892, and Charlie sees a horrendous act through his neighbor's upstairs window. This is the Lizzie Borden story. So when Andrew and Abby Borden are found dead the next day, Charlie is determined to help the police unmask the murderer. And then another historically inspired graphic novel is this funny, empowering title from rising star Ursula Murray Husted, Botticelli's Apprentice. It is a gorgeously illustrated glimpse into the forgotten history of Renaissance Italy, following an ambitious young girl's quest to become an apprentice to the famous Sandro Botticelli, something which girls aren't officially allowed to do. And next slide. Getting back into our prose novels, At Home in a Faraway Place, Newbery Medal winner Lynn Ray Perkins brings us short illustrated novel perfect for those early middle grade readers making the transition into chapter books. Lizzie travels to visit Guatemala, where her dad's best friend lives, and makes new friends while learning a new language. Filled with social, emotional learning connections and themes of family, connection, and communication, this book is sure to be a favorite of teachers and librarians as well as readers. The Strongest Heart is from Sadia Faruqi, who has written a deeply empathetic story about a boy grappling with his father's mental illness and trying to find home in a new place. Mo's mother has taken a job halfway around the world, leaving Abu alone with his father's fits of rage. The pair move to Texas, where Abu connects with his aunt and cousin and starts to see a future for himself, provided the monster in his father doesn't break out and ruin it all. And in Danilo Is Here, he is the star of the baseball diamond and his father's pride, but a U.S. military operation in 1989 has left his El Chorrillo neighborhood in Panama destroyed, and his dad leaves to America for new opportunities. When Danilo's baseball talent lands him the opportunity to train in California and find his absentee father, he's faced with difficult decisions. Next slide. And we've got some great adventure books. These are other ones great for reluctant readers. Inside the Park is another one for sports fans, featuring a young boy who finds himself trapped in a ballpark overnight. What seems like a dream come true, full of hot dogs, batting cages, and even a lovable stray dog, turns into a nightmare when he realizes he might not be alone after all. We have another wolf title here. This is the first in an adventure trilogy about Gwen, who is separated from her family in the wilderness and must survive with the help of a ragtag group of animals. This is a paperback original, and it's filled with black and white illustrations on every page. It's a great pick, like I said, for fans of Rosanne Parry as well as reluctant readers. And in Cincinnati, Lee Cursebreaker, a young adventurer races to break the family curse by repatriating the artifacts her famed ancestors saved in his standalone middle grade debut full of nonstop action, perfect for fans of Rick Riordan, and one of my favorites from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. Next slide. And we've got some new nonfiction. Girls to the Front educates and inspires as it tells the true story of 40 trailblazing Asian American women in American history. Illuminating biographical text paired with the appealing format brings to life heroes, role models, and everyday women who did extraordinary things. And then we also have a powerful middle grade adaptation of the best-selling adult memoir. It's been rewritten for children. The Daughter of Auschwitz recounts Tova Friedman's experiences as one of the youngest survivors of the Holocaust. And next slide, I'm going to end with some exciting news, which is we are celebrating 75 years of Narnia in 2025. So keep an eye out for lots of fun new things, including beautiful new covers for the original series. And that's all for middle grade today.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosanne, and thank you, Christina. That's quite a list. We are going to end the day, last but never least, with YA titles and with a really exciting YA writer. Ava's YA debut, A Study in Drowning, launched at #1 on the New York Times and #2 on the indie bestseller lists, received terrific reviews, and it was included on several best of lists for 2023. It really rocketed her into the teen space, building on her best-selling career that began in adult fantasy. Her latest novel, Fable for the End of the World, is perfect, I think, for fans of Suzanne Collins, and for those who are enjoying the resurgence of the post-apocalyptic category, for teens and crossover audience. We all know it's not just teens reading Ava's and others' books. We are really happy that she's here to tell us about it. And I hope you all will help me welcome Ms. Ava Reid.
Thank you so much. Let me just get my slides up. And there we go. Can everyone see? Okay. So yeah, Fable for the End of the World is out March 4th, 2025, and kind of in broad strokes, it is a standalone dystopian romance with kind of an angsty, sapphic enemies to lovers pairing. It has a live-streamed assassination spectacle at the core, and I think it's perfect for fans of The Last of Us and The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And if you're wondering, Ava, why would you follow up your successful and on-trend book, A Study in Drowning, with an extremely unmarketable lesbian dystopian novel? The answer is that I love The Hunger Games and I hate Elon Musk. So obviously The Lamb's Gauntlet is the center of this book, and it's this live-streamed assassination spectacle. And in this world, essentially is a futuristic version of New York State, which is shaped by very extreme wealth inequality. It is controlled by a single omnipotent and omnipresent corporation called Kairos, which controls pretty much all aspects of society, something I don't really think is too difficult or hard to imagine. This world is divided into the city, which is the technologically advanced capital where the wealthy live in this climate-controlled dome, and then the outlying counties, which are the rural, mountainous region that are ravaged by climate change and inhabited by the impoverished underclass. And Kairos basically encourages all of its citizens to accrue massive amounts of debt, and when someone is 500,000 credits into the red, they or one of their dependents become eligible to be chosen for the Lamb's Gauntlet. So yeah, the characters. Fable is a dual point of view book. It's my first dual point of view book, so that's exciting. The first point of view belongs to Inessa, who is the lamb. She's a hardworking taxidermist from the outlying counties. She has a very close relationship with her brother, who's a hunter, and together they kind of just scrape by running this taxidermy shop. But unbeknownst to Inessa, even though she doesn't have any debts, her mother has accrued enough debt to qualify her for the Lamb's Gauntlet, and she's chosen for that. Inessa is like a yearner, a dreamer, a lover girl, which is the kind of character I haven't really written before, so that was fun. She really has hope for her future, kind of despite her circumstances, and she still believes in like the power of love. Then the other point of view character is Malinois, who is the angel. And angels are these trained Kairos assassins who are tasked with hunting down the lambs and killing them. So she is trying to hunt down and kill Inessa for her mother's debts. Mel is the product of neural reconditioning and physiological alteration, which is supposed to have transformed her into this cold, ruthless kind of cyborgian individual. But because this is an Ava Reid book, she secretly suffers from very debilitating PTSD, and during her last gauntlet, she kind of broke down on live stream, and so with this gauntlet, she really needs kind of redemption. I like to describe Mel as kind of your quintessential villain love interest, but if the villain love interest was a brainwashed teenage girl. So obviously the most important part of this dystopian romance is the romance. And when I say enemies to lovers, like I really mean it. These girls are literally trying to kill each other. But while they're on this gauntlet, on this live streamed, fight to the death, they end up through some kind of, plot contrivance, having to work together and rely on each other in order to survive. And you can see some of the tropes we've got. It's enemies to lovers, we've got knife to throat, only one bed. And I think it's like simultaneously both the most wholesome and angsty romance I've ever read, I've ever written, excuse me. This is actually the only book where my agent asked if I would consider changing the ending because it was too emotionally devastating. If that gives you any indication of what's to come. And if you want kind of the general vibes of the romance, I've got some song recommendations: Ivy by Taylor Swift, Bible Belt by Dry the River, and Sound and Color by Alabama Shakes. Oops. And I think my publisher would be very happy if I talked a little bit about this deluxe edition, which they're creating, which is out on the same day, March 4th, 2025. It has this foiled case, holographic foil jacket, design edges, bonus content, and these amazing end papers. I won't linger on this, but this edition is really beautiful, and I really think my publisher wants me to talk about it a little bit. So yeah. That is Fable, kind of broad strokes. And if you want to kind of see more or follow along, this is my Pinterest, where I have a very extensive Pinterest board about the book. My username is A Simone Reid. I have a Spotify playlist. My username there is Ava X Simone. And then my socials, my Instagram is at Ava S Reid. My website is Ava S Reid. So yeah, thank you for having me and letting me ramble a little bit about my girls and their toxic, tragic romance.
We will allow the toxicity when it produces such an amazing book, Ava. Thank you so much. Also, love a Spotify playlist and a Pinterest board to go with a reading experience. Like, we need more of that. Thanks so much.
Of course.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Mimi Rankin. I'm the Associate Director of School and Library Marketing here at Harper Children's, and I am going to tell you a little bit more about some of the other amazing young adults teen titles we have on this list. I actually begged to be able to present the teen section because I truly think these are going to be some of the best books of the year. I think they are going to fly off your shelves and your patrons are just going to gobble them up. And we could not be starting off with a better one. Watch Me by Tahira Mafi. We are going back to the Shatter Me world. And I know people online are already incredibly excited. So I hope this one is soon to be on your buy lists, because I know your patrons are going to get super excited. This is brimming with pulse-pounding action and tortuous romance. Same themes we all love. Watch Me is an explosive journey through a dystopian landscape with enemies to lovers, and it's never felt more impossible. Lose yourself in an exhilarating return to the #1 global best-selling Shatter Me universe with the first book in a new arc that demands an answer to the desperate question, who are we when no one is watching? And this takes place about 10 years after the last book, I believe, but don't quote me on that. Next, please. A Language of Dragons. Look at that jacket. And this is actually probably one of my favorites on the list. I'm so excited about this one. This is takes place in an alternate London in 1923, in which one girl accidentally breaks the tenuous truce between dragons and humans. So it feels very familiar until very historically familiar until all of a sudden there's dragons, which I love. She breaks the tenuous truce between dragons and humans in this sweeping debut and epic retelling of Bletchley Park, steeped in language, class, and forbidden romance. If you have fans of Fourth Wing and FABLE, especially your teen fans, this is definitely a buy for them. Next, please. All right, we have some fantastic romantasy on this list, starting with The Rose Bargain, which I got my hair done this week and I told my entire hair salon about this book. This is how much I love it. This is, think Bridgerton meets The Cruel Prince meets The Bachelor, which who wouldn't want all of that combined into one? This is an absolutely delicious new novel, and this is the first in a duology from best-selling author Sasha Payton Smith. This is a stunning standout YA romantasy set in an alternate historical England, so more alternate history, in which one girl must enter into a competition for a Fae prince's heart to save her family. It is absolutely a page-turner, and it is fantastic. I can't wait for everybody to read this. We also have another amazing YA romantasy, is Capitana. This is also the first in a duology, so we've got things to look forward to after you finish these. This is the seafaring daughter of notorious pirates. She must prove herself to her empire by rescuing their queen from the most mysterious and infamous pirate alive, while also competing against an infuriating classmate with his own motives. All great things, and we need to bring pirates back. I'm very excited about this. And then another duology. So this time it's not the first, but the sequel, or the final one. This is the sequel to The Scarlet Veil, which of course is in the Shelby Mahern universe. This is the thrilling conclusion of the duology, and this in which a vampire and a woman who try to kill him prove that true love can conquer anything, even death. So if you have Serpent and Dove fans and they love Scarlet Veil, this is the next one. Next, please. All right, we have some new poetry and novels in verse, starting off strong with Skin by E.B. Zaboy, acclaimed award-winning author. We're so excited to have this. And this is her groundbreaking contemporary fantasy debut, so a new genre for E.B. And it's a novel in verse based on Caribbean folklore about the power of inherited magic and the price we must pay to live the life we yearn for. Absolutely exciting, such great world building. So definitely lean into this one. With the market for dark young adult fantasy growing, E.B. brings readers the story of a supernatural being they may not have heard of before. Sucuyants are shape-shifting spirits who fly across the sky as a fireball in search of human blood, and they're known for shedding their skin at night and placing them in a mortar for safekeeping. It gives new depths to the phrase, "Not all skin folk are kinfolk." So cannot wait for this one. We always have such we're so excited for anything new from E.B. Next, please. All right, so more novels in verse. Where the Heart Should Be is absolutely one of my favorites. This is the US cover. The UK edition is already on sale, and I had a colleague who was in London bring me back a copy. This is how much I love this book. In 1847, everything in Ireland was falling apart, but 16-year-old Nell was falling in love. Carnegie Medal winner Sarah Crossan's first historical novel in verse is a suspenseful and heartbreaking story of love, family, and the forces that can destroy us or bind us forever. Sarah Crossan has crafted a sweeping love story, but also this is a family story. This is a story about class, and a story about a particular moment in history that has had truly such a lasting impact on both Ireland and the United States. If you're of Irish descent like me, this is definitely one that you want to pick up, but really everyone should, because it is such a beautiful, beautiful story. And then we also have Knucklehead. So if you haven't read Tony Keith Jr.'s, any of his work, he is definitely an author on the rise, an author to watch. He is fantastic. In Knucklehead, author, spoken word artist, and hip hop educator Tony Keith Jr. pens a love letter to the Black boys and men he affectionately calls knuckleheads, in a collection of poems that affirms the many forms of Black masculinity. While society often assigns the label knucklehead to kids with attitude problems, this brilliant and electric poetry collection subverts that narrow way of thinking and empathizes with young people who are misunderstood and unheard. Next slide, please. All right, some new speculative YA. One spring afternoon after school, Amber arrives home on her bike. It's just another perfectly normal day, but when Amber's mom sees her, she screams. Because Amber died 7 years ago, hit by a car while on the very same bicycle she's inexplicably riding now. This stunning, heartfelt novel from beloved and best-selling YA author Gail Forman is one of the most beautiful explorations of grief I've ever read. A central theme is thinking about how we are all connected as humans and can affect others with the smallest amount of interactions. This is absolutely breathtaking, and I highly encourage this going to the tip top of your TBR. Next slide, please. Some more speculative YA. So after getting rejected by every single Ivy League she applied to and falling short of all of her Asian immigrant parents' expectations, 17-year-old Jenna Chen makes a wish to become her smarter, infinitely more successful Harvard-bound cousin Jessica Chen. Only for her wish to come true, literally. Now trapped inside Jessica's body with access to Jessica's most private journals and secrets, Jenna soon discovers that being the top student at the elite, highly competitive Havenwood Private Academy isn't quite what she imagined. Worse, as everyone, including her own parents, starts having trouble remembering who Jenna Chen is, or if she ever even existed, Jenna must decide if playing the role of the perfect daughter and student is worth losing her true self forever. We also have Meet Me at Blue Hour. This is eternal sunshine of the spotless mind meets past lives in this gripping, emotional story of two childhood friends navigating the fallout of one erasing the memory of the other, from acclaimed author Sarah Suk. Next slide, please. So we've got some other just really strong YA. So if you read The Rosewood Hunt, this is the next book from Mackenzie Reid. This is the acclaimed author of The Rosewood Hunt. Comes a thrilling new standalone mystery with romance, of course, following a high school senior who's forced to team up with her brooding ex to survive their elite boarding school's high-stakes wilderness competition. Who doesn't love a good boarding school story? We also have Rhino's Run. So more than 50 years after publishing The Contender, which is a classic YA novel that has sold over 1.3 million copies, Edwards award-winning author and legendary sports writer Robert Lipsyte delivers another heavy-hitting novel that uses football as a backdrop to tell a complex and nuanced coming-of-age story. This follows high school football player Ronnie Rhino Reinhardt after a violent incident at school leaves him questioning everything he ever believed. As a sports journalist, Robert made a career writing about and critiquing what he called jock culture, and this book deeply explores issues of toxic masculinity, race, gun violence, and gun culture, with football as an accessible entry point. This is definitely one you're going to want to pick up. Then we also have Kirby's Lessons for Falling in Love. When Kirby Tan falls for astrology-obsessed Bex, she struggles to balance her queer identity with her obligations to family and community in this graphic novel from the acclaimed creator of Messy Roots, Laura Gao. And if you recall, Messy Roots was about Laura's story of moving to Texas from Wuhan, China as a child. So definitely great, and we're excited to have another graphic novel from Laura on this list. And finally, I want to tell you about The Corruption of Hollis Brown. This is from the author of Tempest. So that is a fantastic, yes. So I'm sorry, my notes just went away. So I am going to have to quickly wrap up, but The Corruption of Hollis Brown, make sure it's on your list. And that is all from me. Thank you so much. And I think that's everything.
All right. Thank you so much, Rosanne, Linda Sue, Ava, and the entire Harper Stacks team. That was such a wonderful preview. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, title list, slide presentation, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones, like those you see here. And attention, all library workers, educators, booksellers, and students, we have a very special subscription offer exclusive to webinar attendees. Subscribe to Booklist now and stay on top of the latest books, glean readers' advisory guidance, and get collection development advice through print and digital editions of Booklist and access to Booklist online. Plus, our Booklist subscription now comes with free digital and shareable copies of our new product for patrons, Booklist Reader. Scan the QR code or visit our website for more details. And again, thank you for joining us for today's webinar. One more huge thank you to our special guests and to our sponsor, the Harper Stacks team, part of the HarperCollins Children's Books. This concludes today's webinar. We'll see you next time.